This is the house that my grandfather bought in the 1920s. This is the house where my mother lived when she was born in 1944. This is the house where I lived when I was born in 1965. This is the house where my uncle was murdered in 1980. And this is the house that was once a part of a thriving middle-class black community that no longer exists. So how did this happen? How did this neighborhood fall apart? Like everything in America, housing is a story of race. In this case, how white people refused to allow black people into this neighborhood. Then when black people moved in and created a thriving urban community, white people fled the area and used their power to redirect government resources away from the black cities and out to the white suburbs. In 1930, J.D. Shelley, his wife, and their 6 children moved to St. Louis from Mississippi as part of the Great Migration. They lived with relatives and then in rental properties for years because many St. Louis neighborhoods had racially restrictive covenants that prohibited homeowners from selling to black people. The Shelleys eventually bought this home behind me at 4600 Labadie Avenue from an owner who agreed not to enforce the covenant. But a white neighbor, Louis Kramer, sued the Shelleys as soon as they moved in and tried to evict them from their own home. The Missouri Supreme Court agreed with the white neighbor, so the Shelleys appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. In a landmark decision on May 3rd, 1948, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Shelley v. Kramer, holding that racially restrictive covenants cannot be enforced by courts, since this would constitute state action in violation of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. It's hard to believe that white people in the 1940s fought all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to exclude black people from this now deteriorating neighborhood. But the advent of racial integration led to white flight as white families slowly left the cities and fled to the suburbs to escape black people. Then the local, state, and federal government subsidized those white suburbs by building highways, often through black communities, providing mortgage assistance and encouraging businesses to move capital and resources away from the black cities out to the white suburbs. So when you wonder why so many black cities are struggling, it's because they were set up by white policymakers to fail.